Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 17th, 2019 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. There are no appearances. There is no unfinished business. Item 6A, under new business, consideration of resolution 19-7-2361, amending the 2019 capital budget for community center repairs. Are you going to talk about this, Mark?
Do we have a motion?
Oh, is there a motion?
Move for roll.
Second.
Okay.
Work.
I have to get back in the swing of things here.
I'll try my best on this one. So the community center has 3 boilers. The building can maintain 2 of them. The one's currently not working. After all the, Jake's put a lot of effort into the HVAC with the contractors to see what they can do to, fix it without replacing it. But they determined kind of the HVAC needs to be replaced, and they want to get it replaced before the heating season. And also, when they did the community center path project, there's addition installed. There was a project to install the new lights along the way. It kind of ran into some challenges last year, and so there are currently 2 light poles that don't light at night. So they kind of want to get that fixed. So the total between the 2 projects is total estimate cost of $17,862. We got 2 quotes for that attached. We do not have we used up basically, or we have one account in our capital projects that we use kind of for these types of situations, but that's kind of been used through the years, or already through the year. So in order to do this project, since there's not a lot of areas to cut in the capital projects, would be to use the general fund balance to pay for it.
Okay. And I think the situation with the boilers is that we have 3 and it needs 2 to
Correct.
run, right? And one hasn't been working for over a year.
Right.
And isn't repairable.
Right.
Is that? Any questions about either of these?
It's approved at Parks Board Wednesday.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, if there isn't anything else, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or Joan, did you need a roll call for that?
Yes.
Would you please clerk please call the roll?
Alderwood.
Aye.
Alder Kinsler.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 6B,
So not-
consideration of resolution 19-7-2364, providing for the sale of $3,530,000 taxable note anticipation notes, series 2019B. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Mark?
Yeah, so this is we usually do a 2-step process here for ordinance. We have one to kind of start the negotiation, and then the second, at the next meeting, to officially approve the note.
No,
Well, I'm going on my-
taxable note.
I'm going on my paper.
Do we have a motion on this?
We did.
We did, yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
And I don't know if it's I don't know. I didn't look see if it started on.
Oh, this isn't, I guess it's reversed on the
Yeah.
Oh, you can do
online version, but the paper version, it's,
Oh,
well, we might as well, since we're, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
either way. I forget where it was.
Process, this is
Yeah, this is the process. This is the resolution to start the process for Jeff Belangi, our financial advisor, to start negotiating with the bondholders. This is a note for $3.5 million. I just handed out a fiscal note to break out what the borrowing is for, to tie into the 3.5. And these are all been approved developers agreements. So the original $2 million is part of the original developers agreement. There was Amendment 1 for $655,221. We also had part of the developers agreement was the contractor would build part of the boardwalk. We would reimburse them for up to $55,000 based on invoices they'd give us to prove that cost. We're borrowing currently for the Abbott Hotel agreement. This is a taxable note, so there's no arbitrage ruling. So instead of coming back for another $500,000, we added it into this note, which should be done. I think I have it a couple months away So they'll be asking for that. And then there is capitalized interest. The reason why the capitalized interest is we don't have a current stream in the TIF for starting paying down long-term debt, so we have to borrow $319,000 worth of capital interest. The goal would be to refinance in 2021 or 2022. At that time, be converted to a long-term note based on what our stream of increment would be coming in. Be a full year coming in 2021, so we'll have a good idea how to structure that at the time right now. So we use the capitalized interest to get to the 3,530,000.
Questions? Alderwood?
So how long, so the capitalized interest, is that assuming it'll go for how long?
3 years.
3 years. So if we do it sooner than that, we won't need to pay all that capitalized interest.
Right.
And is that, could you explain a little bit to me, is this because we don't have the increment coming in right now to pay it, so we're borrowing?
We're borrowing for the interest instead of using the general fund or
Okay.
general tax levy to pay for it.
And the Avid payment, is that an initial payment from the development agreement, and then there's another payment due later, is that right?
Well, the initial one, per the agreement, there is the $500,000 we pay up front once their bill is complete and they go through their processes. And then there's another one we pay yearly based on a certain percentage.
Okay, and that's not for another year or two, though,
Right,
correct?
that's when they start the operations, and we have to pay that once, I believe, once a year.
Mayor,
Yes,
those subsequent payments are pay-as-you-go. So
Yes.
we don't
Okay.
pay those until after we receive the increment.
okay.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Item 6C, consideration of Resolution 19-7-2363, approval of a Fifth Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Monona and Tracer Group LLC, located at 320 West Broadway Avenue. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second? Attorney Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a development agreement with Tresta for their development of the Tresta development. Part of that development agreement required the developer to personally guarantee various obligations. The building has been built now to comply with all the development terms. She has an agreement now to sell the development to another entity. The entity desires not to be obligated to personally guarantee those obligations. Since the building is now constructed, the only real risk to us would be if it burned down and the new owner did not rebuild it. So to satisfy that risk, what we agreed to do was accept, instead of a personal guarantee, that we would be named a beneficiary under their insurance policy. So if there were to be a casualty loss, we would take those insurance proceeds and rebuild the structure. So this Fifth Amendment would authorize the sale to the new buyer and get rid of the personal guarantee, replace it with the insurance requirement. All of this would take effect only upon the consummation of the sale. So if for some reason the sale did not occur, the personal guarantee would still stay in place.
Questions? Do we have any idea when the sale might take place?
Thursday. Yeah.
Oh, that's soon. Yeah. No questions?
Unless you stop it tonight, because
This could do it.
Yes.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, there was some language about what this says that we would be an additional insurer, and there was some other language that you had used previously, that was a term of art, and I think, just want to make sure that got changed.
It did.
Okay.
Yes, for additional insured is for liability purposes. For property loss, the insurance term is loss payee. So we would be named a loss payee on their insurance policy, and that's what I have a red line agreement that has that change in it. That's what we would be asking for approval.
Okay.
Just curious, are we in any kind of priority in terms of who they have to pay?
Yes, for insurance purposes, we as the lost pay, it's made payable to both the city and the
Okay.
insured. So while we're not while we don't have priority to them, they don't get the money unless we sign off on it.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6D, convene in closed session under Wisconsin statute, section 19.85, paren 1, paren G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. This involves a couple of different items. Claim of Wilma Newt Paul, claim of Rich and Margaret Lofgren, and section 19.85, item paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session. This regards the TDS Metrocom Fiber Agreement easement offer. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kitzler?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Aye.
We are in closed session. All right, we are back in open session. Item 6F, consideration of claim of Wilma Newt Paul. Is there a motion?
So I would move to authorize the city attorney to defend the city in this matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6G, consideration of claim of Rich and Margaret Lofgren. Is there a motion?
I move to deny the claim of Richard and Margaret Lofgren.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6H, consideration of resolution 19-7-2362, accepting an offer from TDS Metrocom for fiber agreement easement. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
We should have a roll call here.
Okay.
Alder Kitzler,
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is the financial report. Mr. Hotaker.
If you have any questions, just kind of let me know. Otherwise, I'm just kind of going to go through this and talk about this. So on mine, I don't know what page, how yours is page numbered, but mine is the very bottom corner. I have page 16. Is that kind of how do you? I'll start with there. So this is the general fund revenue portion. Kind of want to hit on the license permits. As you can see, kind of we're for all the permits in total, we're already over the budget. A lot of that was for the new riverfront development. They kind of, you pull the permits, they kind of pay, they work on different areas. So that are currently right now is over budget. When we get to the expenses are a little bit increased this year too. So there's, it's not like, so there is going to be a little cause and effect, but it is still a positive for the city. Underneath that, excavating permits, these are the right-of-way permits. There's, we had one large one came in so far for this year. And they're also, when we get to the expense side, there is going to be some more expenses on the right-of-way permit for our salaries related to this. It's going to be higher than most years. Fines and forfeitures, court fines and cost. This is only January through May. We don't have June's in there yet, so we're basically right on target for that. We'll probably be close to budget or over above budget on that. So it's a good sign. Page 17. It's going to kind of hit on the interest income. Where we're at with that does not include all of June yet, but as you can see, we're at $79,000 over where we were supposed to be. So I'm projecting we'll probably be close to $150,000 over. So if you kind of look down at the fund balance applied, that's $619,000. So basically, at the end of the year, if we didn't go over budget or under budget on any revenues or expenses, that's what our net loss would be. I'm expecting that to be cut into that would probably be closer to the 400,000 or so. So it would be some savings to what we applied in fund balance in 2019. The biggest areas of concerns for the expenses are, we kind of talked about that in the staff meeting today, is the repairs and maintenance accounts. It seemed like they're kind of the areas that are adding up for us as far as being kind of over budgets areas. Page 20 for the elections is kind of this is one of those accounts we can kind of talk about it during budget time. We just budget that flat each year. We don't adjust that. This year we only had one election, so there's some savings. But the prior year we had a loss, so it kind of nets out over 2 years. So just kind of want to show that it works. Because last year we were showing, a net over budget last year at that time. There's some savings again on building maintenance on page 21. General building plants. This position was vacant for a long time, so there is some savings there. Page 23, here's the inspection services. We're at 62% already, 63%. It's a result of the revenues and what's going on there at Riverfront. So we'll be over budgets on the expense side, but also over budget on the revenue side. We'll still could be more revenue than expenses by the end of the year.
Mark, on that page, right above
Yep.
the inspections, I noticed the paid on premise is at 90% of the budget.
Yep, and I didn't mark it this time. So yes, that is 90% of the budget. And I believe we kind of talked about next time that Scott's going to come in here and do a presentation.
That's the
on
fire
it.
chief to come. We're looking at schedules for August. We need to be here to talk.
Okay.
And so just the one thing we do a little bit is one of the things he did mention, we'll probably bring it up, is he's kind of monitor that based on total expenditures, but he'll go into more detail what's going on to that next time he presents. Page 25, I just want to, last time we had some issues with how stuff was getting allocated, snow and ice and salaries. So we kind of went through and was able to figure out what was the snow and ice overtime, what was just base salaries for snow and ice. We had a very bad winter. So, salaries for the snow and ice, just the base time, they're basically at 93%, which is okay with that purposes. That means there's another area that's going to be down. So that nets out to zero. The bigger area is going to be the overtime, where because of the winter last year, or just last January through March, it was bad. So we ended up having an excess overtime. So we're basically close to the overtime budgets for that. Hopefully, it seems like the winters are starting later and later, and hopefully that happens this year, because there will be, if we are, we'll probably be a little bit over budget. And that's if you also look at the other snow and equipment and maintenance repair accounts and the snow and ice accounts. It just was a bad winter this year. One of those things that some years are light and some years, like this year, yeah, it is a bad winter. Hopefully some of those savings that we talked about already will offset some of those increases. So page 31. This is probably the area that's the most hardest to project, and we're still kind of working on this one, is the community rec funds. As you can see, the after-school program, where we're at with that, was the spring balance. I believe once the fall comes in that, we'll meet our budget on that. That won't be an issue. So this is one area we're watching. The pool numbers are starting to come in, so we'll be kind of have a better idea here fairly soon. But so far we're doing okay. But as you can see, it's just the beginning of the numbers so far. Here's to me the other big area of concern besides the repair and maintenance is the rebate program on page 35. This is the biggest area I've seen so far. I think is dollar-wise is one area of concern is the rebate program. As kind of we talked about every time a month is the recycling numbers are going down. It's not so much the volume; it's just what we get paid, what the demand in the market is right now. So that would be an issue we're going to have to probably adjust in the 2020 budget, and it'll probably be an area we're going to have to look at transferring money probably from the general fund to coverage the overage this year. I'm sure we're running out of time here, so I don't know if you have any questions or concerns.
Anyone? Joan, do we need to vote to accept the financial report, or I can't remember?
We can, it doesn't hurt, but I don't, it's not required.
Okay. Do we want to go over the bills, or since we're already at 7 o'clock, or do we?
Yeah,
want
we
to
can wait till next time.
hold them over till the next time? Do you need a motion for that?
No, you're just making it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, then is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
I was golfing. Good with Hamburgs. Oh, were you really? Oh, man. I mean, they're fine because they're all about the same level. Are they? Well, interesting. Yeah. Chris and I are about the same level. So. Yeah. And then, our oh. Hi. Okay. I don't think there were any questions. Pretty straightforward. So no, I mean, we'll get to know you here. We'll call you up here. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if you want to say something in the appearances, just generally. Otherwise, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Oh, I just moved your spot. Sorry. You only one over.
Yeah, so I think we need.
We'll just have to. We'll shift these.
We're shifting?
Well, Molly's not here.
Okay.
Okay, so if you could.
I don't know why I thought it was just Brad.
Do I need to shift?
Just the chairs.
Just the chairs.
Yeah. Like the just chairs this way.
Oh, sorry.
Got it.
Yeah, they can just fill it out. Like,
Talk about first world problems, right?
yeah, I mean, they can come to any. Yeah, I mean, the formal hearing itself.
Hey, Joan,
Yes, sir.
these are the two things the mayor would need to sign on the trace the thing if it's approved.
Will you pass this?
Yes.
down to the,
It's all work. I mean, not that we don't have fun. Okay, so then I suppose I could bring up the other agenda.
Mark, can we do this? Those guys come out and do the name tags?
With lots of students, so.
That's good.
And I passed my sister.
Thank you.
Okay. I started to get out of the way.
No rush.
But, two people aren't here. Yeah. Molly and Kathy aren't here. He's gonna what?
They're waiting till the last minute, aren't they?
Yeah, I just, you know, people just reflect.
Yeah, maybe they weren't even legal the other night, I don't know. Well, oh, that's all. Oh, I suppose not, yeah. If you could search by topic. But one of the places that I was gonna stop. Does everybody have their nameplates?
Kitzler signed me that.
Think so?
Was to go with the final presentation.
Oh, he's all president.
Okay, are we ready? No? Okay. How many meetings and how many public hearings and how many, and then you know exactly what meetings you think. And Chris was only at one, so.
Okay. That's helpful, yeah. I can just do that.
Because I was thinking about the best way to get into. Joan, you're good? Thank you. Okay, I would like to call to order the Monday, July 15th meeting of the City of Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kitzlar.
Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Coor. Here. Alder Thomas is excused. Alder Groupie is excused. Alder Moore.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 17th meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under the appearances section, first of all, I would like to welcome my grandsons, Liam and Declan, who are here visiting from Minnesota, and they're here to watch Democracy in Action tonight. So, welcome, boys. We have a proclamation, and then we have at least one appearance on the agenda. So, Reese O'Higgins, if you want to meet me up here. We have a proclamation regarding some work Reese did for the city as he was working for his Eagle Badge, the Boy Scouts. So, I don't know if any of you know, I know because I have a brother who's an Eagle Scout and some nephews, but as part of the getting your Eagle Badge, you have to do a special project. And Reese's project was building a stairway from BLD Lane to Woodland Park for the Parks Department. So he completed that project, and I have this proclamation, which I will give you when I'm done. Whereas Reese O'Higgins has earned the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest rank in scouting, and whereas the rank of Eagle Scout is attained by fewer than 4% of all scouts and represents the accomplishments of leadership, exceptional commitment to the community, and an understanding of the Scout oath and law, and whereas the Boy Scouts of America encourages Eagle Scout candidates to complete worthy projects to improve their neighborhoods, community, and the region, and whereas Reese O'Higgins has devoted many hours to fulfill the extensive requirements for the advancement of scouting, including the completion of an Eagle Scout project, an examination by the Eagle Scout Board of Review, and whereas Reese O'Higgins has completed the construction of a set of stairs from the end of BLD Lane to the entrance of Woodland Park, allowing residents and visitors to access the park safely and enhance the recreational experience in Monona. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mary Kay O'Connor, Mayor, and on behalf of the City Council of the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, hereby recognize and honor Reese O'Higgins for his achievement to the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout and sincerely thank him for his improvement of the City of Monona. Signed in the City of Monona, Dane County, Wisconsin, this 15th day of July, 2019, Mary Kay O'Connor, Mayor. So, thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words, or- No, you don't have to. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and I think we have one person is registered for appearance. If anyone else would like to speak, we'd like you to fill out one of those half sheets on the table in the corner. Brian Person, 6104 Roselawn Avenue, is here to speak against the rezoning of 309 Femright. So, Brian, if you could come up to the podium and speak.
Hi, my name is Brian Person, and I live at 6104 Roselawn Avenue in Monona, Wisconsin. I've lived in Monona for 30 years and been a homeowner for 28. I have seen many changes through the years in Monona. Roselawn went out into the Beltline, which is now Broadway. The antique mall turned into a shopping center and condos were put up on top. A subdivision over on Shadow Lane which included some condos, but all were single-family homes. The reason I am here tonight is to object to the rezoning to the 309 Femright. In light of the zoning changes, the fact that there is no control over what is done with the property, as stated by members of the Plan Commission last Monday. There is already duplexes at the other end of the Roselawn. Also, some comments made by Dale at the Plan Commission meeting last Monday were very disturbing and upsetting to me after a motion to deny and was seconded. Are we really considered the rough side of Monona? Some of Dale's premises on doing both this project and his last project was to encourage young professionals on opportunity to have ownership in Monona. 3 people living in that current project are older individuals. So you cannot control who purchases property and whether or not it would be owner occupied. If there is a plan of action for the city of Monona, was the good side of Monona informed as I see big lots with single-family homes being either remodeled or rebuilt completely? Because Monona is landlocked and trying to figure out how to grow without acquiring more land is a challenge, and I'm sure, but when you start thinking about the density you are creating, it has to be a fine line to figure out what needs to be done. And I was very upset by that comment, that I didn't know that we had a rough side of Monona in the first place. So I just object to it, and that's all I really have to say.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to speak about a matter, any matter? Okay. There is no public hearing tonight. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Under item G1A, unfinished business, consideration of resolution 19-6-2360, approving a memorandum of understanding, MOU, for use and cost sharing between the city of Monona and the Monona Public Library. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second. Brian, did you?
Yeah, no additional comments beyond what we talked about at the last council meeting. The library director is here tonight as well in case you have any questions. But again, the main justification for this MOU is really to set down in paper a number of the different practices that we have between the library and the city in terms of our rental of their facilities for our meetings.
Any questions? Alder Moore?
Has there been anything approximating an MOU prior to this? In other words, is this any kind of an update or adjustment or anything from any, or we've just been floating kind of?
I don't believe we have anything on file or on record. No.
At one point, we had an agreement for the use of this room for distance education, when it was more of a distance education learning center, but I don't think we ever had anything regarding the whole building.
Agreement. Okay.
This.
But I think
Alder Cole.
it's consistent with our past practice with the library.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to new business, item 2A, consideration of resolution 19-7-2364, providing for the sale of $3,530,000 in taxable note anticipation note series 2019B put forth by the finance director, and this is starred for immediate approval. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Mark?
Yes, I handed out a fiscal note, so just in case this is going to be referenced. So what this is the providing the approval of this resolution is to start negotiation, provide the letter of financial advisor Jeff Blonge to start negotiating with bondholders for this borrowing, and to come back at the next meeting we have. On the fiscal note that I handed out, I break out what the $3.5 million is for. This is to meet our financial obligations per our developers agreements. As you can see, the original developers agreement for the two, an amendment. There's a city share of the boardwalk. We're also borrowing at the same time for the Abbott Hotel, and there's capitalized interest on this. This will be a ban. So what this is we're borrowing the capitalized interest from the ban, which will be paid through the tax increment and not by the taxpayers. And we're looking to refinance this in probably 2021 or 2022, convert it into long-term debt. By then, 2021, we'll have full value of the riverfront project on the books as far as the assessments. At that time, we were able to look and see what the increment coming in, and we can set our long-term schedule for the debt. So that's what we'll be doing, but we'll be back here again in probably 2021 or 22 to refinance this. So this is to fulfill our obligations per developers agreements, and they're requesting the money at this time.
Questions? No, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item new business 2B, consideration of ordinance 7-19-719, rezoning 309 Femrite Drive from single-family residence district, SF, to two-family residence district, TF, for the development of a two-family attached residence, and this is put forth by the Plan Commission. Is Douglas going to?
I don't know if Nancy, if Chair Moore wanted to provide a summary of the Plan Commission meeting, otherwise I can do that as well.
I'm sure I'd be happy to. The property in question is requested by Doug Ganser to be converted into a townhome of two residences, the footprint of which would be no larger than were it a single-family home, and certainly there was a healthy discussion in the Plan Commission about this, and at the end of the day, the Plan Commission felt that it was it fit. First of all, it reflected what is the case that's made in the comprehensive plan to diversify in our housing. Second, that it would be that while Roselawn is predominantly single-family, Femrite is most definitely not, and in fact is largely multifamily and commercial. And this property in particular looks at all of those, not to mention the cemetery, and so approved this change with a finding of fact that given that there's already significant density in the area with many multifamily residences and commercial and the cemetery, that it was a good opportunity for us to reflect what we have in our comprehensive plan.
Questions?
Just Madam Chair. So, point of information for the council, we've got a draft ordinance in your packet which lays out the findings of facts based upon the Plan Commission's discussion. City Planner Douglas Palman is also here in case you have any technical questions on the application, and the applicant Dale Ganser is also in the audience in case you have questions about the specific property and the project he's proposing.
Any questions, Doug?
So this only covers the one parcel at 309 Femrite?
That's correct.
And that's not considered spot zoning? Or was that considered, or?
I mean, we had a very long discussion about that at Plan Commission. The overall thought of the Plan Commission was that because of the variety of uses and the density that exist on Femrite and Roselawn, it seemed to be a compatible zoning classification. There was a much longer discussion about, maybe in the future, if there is a desire for these type of products, small lot subdivision type products, that perhaps we create a separate zoning category for that. But in the absence of that, for the application that's before us, the Plan Commission felt that it was appropriate to rezone the property.
Attorney Cole?
I would concur. I mean, as long as the classification that the applicant is trying to rezone to is consistent with the general characteristics of the neighborhood, it wouldn't be illegal spot zoning.
Right, okay.
And again, as the ordinance notes, the council has legislative discretion to make amendments to the zoning map as it sees fit.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll be considering this at the next council meeting for the final vote. Moving on to item 2C, consideration of resolution 19-7-2361, amending the 2019 capital budget for community center repairs put forth by the Parks and Recreation Director. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry I missed the second.
Jennifer.
John, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, so quickly, unexpected repairs at the community center happened after the budget process last year, so we weren't able to include it in the 2019 capital budget. Two separate projects within the community center, two separate issues. The boiler, we run on 3 boilers at the community center for the heating season. It alternates between 2 boilers. One boiler is down unable to source parts for repair, was damaged from a leaking water source. So a direct replacement is recommended. This was after discussion over alternatives, including looking at investing in a high-efficiency condensing boiler, but challenges with the existing boiler. Water temperature, I went through members of the facilities committee that had experience with boilers, and that was the recommendation due to a one-for-one replacement. Timing, we'd like to have this in before the next heating season. The community center would not be able to heat the building sufficiently on one working boiler. So we have 2 working boilers now. If we don't get this replaced and something happens to one, we'll be pretty much without heat at the community center. The other project is we had lights installed as part of our pathway project last year using existing bases. The scope of the work went above the contract to locate some of the wiring to hook in the last 2 lights. So currently we have new light poles, but they're not lit up at night. So it does create a little bit of pedestrian issue for exiting the senior center. So this project would be to reinstall a new light base at the main entrance of the community center to be able to tunnel under the sidewalk to hook into the last 2 lights that need to be lit up.
Questions? And will this hopefully take care of the HVAC problems there for a while?
Yes.
Jennifer?
It's more of a comment than a question. My hope is that we kind of keep a tally of these things that keep coming up with the property, so that when it's time for us to evaluate whether we need new properties, we can refer to these issues.
Mm-hmm. Good idea. Anyone else? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Kitzler,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Coor,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
I understand that the new owners, or who will be the new owners of TraceStar, are in the audience, so I'm going to, if no one else objects, I'm going to move item 2G up to the present, to the next item. This is also start for immediate approval, consideration of Resolution 19-7-2363, approval of a Fifth Amendment to the development agreement between the City of Monona and Tracer Group LLC, 320 West Broadway Avenue, put forth by the Community Development Authority. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to take this item out of order.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Brian, were you going to, or Bill? Bill, do you want to discuss this?
Sure.
Okay.
This is a red line of the few changes from what's in your packet, if you can distribute those. The city has a development agreement with the developer Tracesta, imposing several obligations on the development, most of which have been satisfied now. The development is completed and has been operating for several years now. The developers reached an agreement with a third party to sell the development to them due to the fact that the development agreement as it stands now was drafted before construction, imposes one of the obligations of a personal guarantee from the developer guaranteeing these obligations. Since the development has now been built out, the new buyer is requesting to be relieved of the personal guarantee obligation. The only real risk the city has at this point, since it has been constructed, is if there were a casualty loss, if the building burned down and the current owners either failed to have insurance or decided not to rebuild with the proceeds, the city would be out the increment, obviously, of that structure. So we met with the developer, and it's been discussed with the buyers as well, that the city would relieve the new buyers of the guarantee, and in lieu of that, the buyers would name the city as a lost payee on their insurance policy, meaning if there were a casualty loss to that structure, the insurance proceeds would be made payable to the insured and the city as well, so that we could ensure that there are funds available to rebuild the structure as obligated to in the development agreement. Other than that, the developer would assume all the other obligations of the development agreement. The developer, Ms. Farrow, is here, and I believe the buyers are here as well, if the council has any concerns about the new buyers or their ability to operate and maintain the facility.
Questions, anyone? Alderman?
I would just, I would love to hear from you, actually, since it, just hear a little bit more about your interest in this property and your experience. If you could go up to the podium, that would be perfect.
The new buyers?
Yes.
Okay. That'd be good. If you could give us your name and address also? Thank you. Yep, once you're up there.
My name is William Perkins. I live in Glenview, Illinois, 2036 Valley Low Lane. Half the time. I'm half the time in Madison. I have a house at 715 South View Street. I would be moving to Madison, but there's family obligations there. I've been in this real estate business for a long time, and I can't just leave. I graduated from Valparaiso University in 1980, and I've been in this company, with this company ever since. The company was started by my father-in-law. It's a family business, and I'm still there. He's still around, but he's not able to work anymore. Graduated from Northwestern University in 1984. Excuse me. In Madison, I bought my first property here in 2001. That was High Point Meadows. If you're familiar, it was a group of condos by Watts Road and High Point. At the same time, my brother-in-law bought High Point Woods and Heather Valley. Over the years, I bought him out, so I own the 400 units there. In 2011, we bought from, I believe, Joe Sauter Homes Group, JSM. It was called Heather Valley. That was, excuse me, thank you, Swan Creek, and that's out by Zion Road and Sherrill in Fitchburg. It worked out nicely. There was a lot across the street, so we built 95 units across the street. So it was Heather Valley 1 and 2, Swan Creek 1 and 2. We finished that in 2015, filled it up. Everything worked out very nicely, but we wanted to try other things. So we sold that in 2018, I believe. Since then, we've bought, actually before that, we bought a building at 306 West Main. That's right off the Capitol. That's family owned, more so than me, but I have a little piece of the action. But we're running that. Around the corner on Mifflin, we bought 2 properties, well, 4 really. A couple of them are houses. So we have about 60 units there. What else? With Tresta, or soon to be, hopefully, Yahara Terrace, we don't have a lot of plans to change much there. Basically, they built a very nice property. We have a few plans. Right now, there's issues with the siding. The contractor, when they built the property, did not do a good job, so that's going to be redone. We will plan on doing a little bit of landscaping, some amenity upgrades, a little better fitness center, or some improvements to it, things like that, but there's not really a ton of work that needs to be done. We've been managing, again, apartment buildings. I have been since 1980. I'm very well experienced. I still operate several hundred units in downtown Chicago, and Des Plaines another 750 units. So I'm very experienced. As far as the finances, we have the money in place easily. There's no issues with that. And any questions?
Questions, anyone? Did you say you're changing the name?
Tresta is not our name. It's
Okay.
the
So it's
seller
gonna be
would like to keep it.
Yahara Terrace is what you're doing?
Yahara Terrace,
Okay.
tentatively. So we think that's a reasonable name for it.
Anyone else?
I should just raise, Mayor, sir, if you are changing the corporate identity, the clerk mentioned this morning, which is a valid point, Tresta holds a Class B, Class A license, liquor license. If you desire to continue that, You'll just need to contact her and apply for a new license since it'll be.
We have no plans to keep the liquor license.
Okay, then that's fine. It'll expire and, okay, yes.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, back to the agenda. We have an item, what we had put in as a placeholder for a closed session, and I should have clicked on the fact that I don't think we really need a closed session for this next item, so unless anyone has any objection, I'd like to not go into closed session and just discuss this right now. Consideration of Resolution 19-7-2362, accepting an offer from TDS Metrocom for fiber agreement easement put forth by the Public Works Director. Dan, would you like to?
Could you pass this down?
We have been working with TDS for probably a year now. They have intentions to build out their fiber network throughout Monona. They already have approval to install their fiber network in the local residential areas. What you have before you is the request for 2 easements to put their control boxes. These are the control centers that operate the entire fiber network in Monona. There is a third one that is in the right-of-way by Walgreens, which doesn't need an easement, but the 2 that are in the packet are for city-owned property, and they're seeking our approval to grant those easements, and they will be reimbursing or paying the city up to $20,000 for the two easements. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any, Alderman?
I'm wondering, Dan, if, or Bill, as this council knows, there's been some resident issues raised, residents wondering now with the appearance of TDS, and my understanding is the state statute kind of has our hands tied, so I'm wondering for the general public that either reads minutes at bedtime or watches TV, if we might explain to the community, since this is not something that went through committees or this council previously, why this is occurring, the TDS.
Sure, I can handle
That'd be great.
So what's before you is, frankly, a straight real estate deal.
Right.
They need 2 easements to place these controllers. The rest of it, the fiber will be running in the street, the city right of way.
Right.
Not outside of the paved portion for the most part. There's been public concern about pedestals that will be placed in the front and those sort of things. The reality of it is that TDS is a public utility, and as such, by state statute, they're permitted to put their infrastructure within the city right away. The city has very little say in that or control over that, frankly. There's been concerns raised about the pedestals. The pedestals, Dan could explain it better, but I understand it are, roughly 8-10 inches in diameter, 18 inches high, would be placed, generally speaking, every other house on the property line, so in the corners of the properties. We frankly have no control over that. That's pursuant to state statute and the Public Service Commission. So that's the nature of it. I know Public Works is working closely with TDS, monitoring where it's going. It's all by virtue of a permit. So the city is keeping as much control as we can over it, but at the end of the day, they are a utility and they can use the right-of-way.
And those pedestals are different than what we're talking about here.
Very much.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Correct. Could I just ask, as a follow-up, as it relates to those pedestals, you're saying they would be every other property, regardless of whether somebody is subscribing to TDS?
Correct.
And all over the city?
No, the more modern subdivisions are platted with utility easements generally in the backyards. So to the extent there are any of those subdivisions in Monona, TDS has the legal ability to use those easements instead of the right-of-way. They're not obligated to do it, but that's their preference as well. So to the extent there are properties that have those utility easements, the TDS lines will be run in the backyards, similar to all the other utilities serving those subdivisions. The older subdivisions generally were not platted that way. So if they don't have those easements, their only recourse is to run in the right of way. So I guess I would say many properties will have the pedestals, probably not all of them in the city though.
And do we anticipate that those pedestals, given that then we'd read quite a few, do we anticipate that those pedestals will impact, for instance, our future plans for sidewalks that would be I'm assuming would be running over a lot of the same right-of-way?
Well, if the utilities interfere with the city infrastructure, the utility would be required to move those at their cost.
I would like to add, though, that comments from Mike, who's our right-of-way coordinator, they're placing the pedestals at the very back of the right-of-way, so as far back as possible within the right-of-way.
So they could be conceivably like 15 feet back into someone's yard, are you saying?
Possibly, but they're going to try and, if there's other infrastructure in the right-of-way near there, they're going to try and group it together, so the eyesores.
Like if there was a pole or something?
Right. Otherwise, their goal is to put them near the end of or the rear of the right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you. Did you have something else, Nancy? No. Anyone else?
This, it's not starred, but due to their construction timeline, they were requesting that the rules be suspended and action taken tonight, if possible.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
Just take this item out of order.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you two want to vote on that, or? All in favor, say aye. You said aye. Doug, did you?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. For some reason, the print agenda I have here is not totally matching what's on the online version, so I think I've covered everything here. I guess we'll move on to reports of committees and commissions and et cetera. Alder Corr.
Just a reminder, I think I mentioned this at a previous meeting, but the Landmarks Commission is hosting a dedication of the Monona Mound on August 17th. It'll be held here at the library upstairs by the windows initially. There'll be some speakers, and then down here we'll have refreshments, and then and Lilac is going to give her talk on the mounds after that program.
Cool.
Alder Wood.
Just, I believe there is a pop-up beer garden scheduled this Thursday at 5 o'clock, I believe. The start time at the usual location, Sluder Beach Park.
Alder Kissler.
Only that tourism will be meeting in middle of August. So, August 12th. to be specific.
Alder Moore.
The next info session, and perhaps last info session for Maddie Sun, the Solar Group I program. We're partnering with Renew Wisconsin. Will be held on the 16th of July from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Rosie's Green Cafe.
City Clerk.
No report.
City Attorney.
No report.
City Administrator.
A couple quick things. The Public Works Director can feel free to chime in if he's got some additional updates. But for Riverfront Project, the levee was built to allow them to do some pumping of the water to get down to do the install of the steps, and that work is ongoing. And all the different various utilities are continuing their work in the area now, so there will be some utility poles that will be removed as part of that work. So see that happening this week and next. Then for the Bridge Road project, asphalt was pulverized and is in the process of being put back, placed, and rolled. And we've also added some detour signs to help relieve some of the traffic coming onto Inland Way, the new street that we've just paved. So you'll see those out there as well, in addition to some temporary business open signage that we're going to be adding hopefully in the next couple days to let people know which businesses are now open in the current project so they can get in and out. Dan, I don't know if you had anything else.
Is that everything, Dan? Did you have any updates you'd like to give? Okay. I had a couple of things. First of all, I'd just like to confirm that we have a quorum for the next meetings. I know a couple people I think are going to be out of town August 5th. You two will be here.
I will be out of town and unfortunately in transit or otherwise a call-in. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be out of town.
Okay. So far as I know, Alder Thomas and Alder Groupie are here, but we should double check with them. So, also, I wanted to read a little bit from my operating budget instructions, which were given to all the department heads. I mentioned at the last meeting that the upcoming budget is looking really tight. So for right now, my direction is to prepare a budget to maintain current services. This means no additional staff or additional hours for current staff, but to maintain what we currently have. Any new services need to be provided within the confines of current staffing and budgeting. And then we need to, if a line item has been underfunded in the past, please adjust based on historical data or current contracts. Salary adjustments outside of a normal increase, we will ask to have a justification for that, and we'll make a decision about those on an individual basis. So I just wanted to let you know for now anyway, unless we have some big pot of money up here, that the next budget is still going to be pretty tight, so we're asking for basically a cost to continue budget. Then the only other thing I guess is that several of us were at the Buck and Honey's grand opening the other night, which was lovely, and the property is amazing, I think. So I think we're very pleased with that. My understanding is they've got 5 apartments left in the current building, so we anticipate hearing from the developer about starting the next phase fairly soon, and I think that a couple of the other businesses are moving in around the end of August.
Yeah, mid to end of August, depending on how the weather shakes out.
Okay, so things are going well. We don't have any appointments tonight, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.